Yo, what's going on guys, zkarma here and welcome back to another Borderlands 3 video. Today we're going to be talking about major changes regarding Mayhem 2.0 modifiers. With the most recent patch, we got the Guardian takedown, we got buffs, nerfs, so many nice changes to the game, but in this video I just want to focus on these Mayhem 2.0 modifiers. There was changes to Lootsplosion, mob mentality, chain gang, and the floor is lava. These changes were all in the patch notes, but they also made a secret change to the Slayer modifier. This was not in the patch notes, and I will be explaining exactly what they did. Anyway, so before I get into this video, if you guys found it informative or helpful in any way, a like rating is always appreciated, and if you want to subscribe for more Borderlands 3 content like this, that will be awesome as well. So anyways, let's begin with the changes to Lootsplosion. Before this patch, Lootsplosion was not dropping any Mayhem scaled gear, which meant that running this modifier was practically useless because everything was dropping as Mayhem 0. Well, it has now been fixed, so why don't we give it a try. I'm currently on Mayhem 4 with Lootsplosion as my modifier. So with Lootsplosion, killing an enemy has a 10% chance to cause a Lootsplosion. Critical hits will guarantee an enemy will Lootsplosion. So since we're on Mayhem 4, we should be getting Mayhem 4 scaled gear if this was actually fixed. So let's go ahead and look for an enemy that's easy to kill. And I think this guy will do. Let's grab him to make it easier. Get that. That's the perfect Lootsplosion. Now let's look at the loot. And unfortunately, he didn't drop anything that says the Mayhem level. There you go. There it is. This one, Mayhem 4, as you can see. It is working. Let's try one more time. By the way, I have already tested this on other enemies. I have gotten legendaries from the Lootsplosion, and yes, they are all scaled. Let's try this one now. And there you go, Lootsplosion. And it is Mayhem 4, as you can see on the weapon card. So yes, Lootsplosion has now been fixed, everyone. I remember in my previous videos talking about everything that was broken. I told you guys to not use Lootsplosion because you were only going to get Mayhem 0 gear, but now that has been fixed, so you're free to use Lootsplosion. Moving on, let's talk about a few changes to modifiers that were done in order to stabilize game performance. First, chain gang and mob mentality will not roll at the same time, because apparently there was stability issues when those two modifiers rolled together. If you guys didn't know, mob mentality is a medium modifier, and chain gang is a hard modifier. Additionally, chain gang will not be active until you are close to the enemies. But I have been testing this and I don't really see a difference. So if you didn't know, when you have the chain gang modifier, enemies will be connected with elemental chains that will damage you while you're mobbing. So in order to maintain a more stable game performance, they are now only active when you are closer to the enemies. But I don't know if this is working properly because check this out. I just saved quit, so I haven't even engaged those enemies and they're all affected by chain gang. Look at that. They have the chain right there. You see it. These guys are also being affected by chain gang. So I don't know exactly if you need to be even farther away for that chain to not be active, but so far I don't really notice a difference. So let's get up here, and as you can see, those guys are still chained. So I don't know, maybe this fix just didn't work, so hopefully they can get around to fix that in order to stabilize the game's performance. Moving on, they also made changes to the floor is lava modifier. This modifier will now fire off less frequently, and damage taken by floor is lava will no longer count towards being in combat, which means that you are now free to stand still and look at loot even though you're still on fire by being affected by floor's lava. So let's go ahead and try this out and see how much it has improved. Go ahead and shoot this guy, and obviously as soon as I shoot him, I get this. Now let's run away. I'm still not being burned. Okay, let's get ourselves burnt first. Alright, we got ourselves burnt. You go away, stand still again, and we're still getting it. Out of combat, right? Definitely out of combat. There we go. There we go, it is fixed. I was just too close to the enemies, I guess. So let's go ahead and clear the area, and let's see what happens when I stand still after clearing this area. This is the last enemy in the area. Let's stand still, and we get burned. Okay, I think they need to address this. Still not... Okay, I don't know what's going on here, but area is cleared, and I was still being affected. Maybe it still needs a little bit of work done, because when I did get away from all the enemies, you saw it stopped working earlier, but right now it just killed me. So anyways, I hope they work a little bit more on the floor's lava. Yes, I did see a difference when I ran all the way back here and stood still while still being damaged by the floor's lava. But once I cleared the mobs and I was still getting affected, I think that should be an issue that should be addressed. And finally, I wanted to talk about a modifier that was not mentioned in the patch notes, the Slayer modifier. With this modifier, enemies that are below 15% health will start glowing blue, and they will insta-die if you melee them and explode into shield and health boosters. And it still works the exact same way, but the only difference is that before this patch, when you meleeed an enemy affected by Slayer, you would do millions and millions of damage. This would make Amara's Ties That Bind destroy all enemies simply by meleeing the enemy affected by Slayer. The reason is because Amara's Ties That Bind is a phase grasp action skill that links enemies. So every enemy linked is going to be shared the damage that you do to the main target or any target that you shoot. So by meleeing the enemy with Slayer, you were doing millions and millions of damage. That damage was transferred over and all the enemies around would also insta-die. But now they kinda silent nerfed it. So they made it so that you only do the exact amount of damage that you need for the enemy to die. No more doing millions of damage, so there's not going to be any more cheesing with Amara's Ties That Bind. My guess is that this change was done in order to remove this exploit that was being done with Ties That Bind. As you can see by this gameplay I'm showing, when I melee the enemy affected by Slayer, I am only doing the exact damage required for the kill, and thus the action skill Ties That Bind is not being exploited to get the rest of the kills around me. I think it was a great change, especially with the Guardian takedown, because otherwise you would technically be able to reach the boss's immunity phases by simply using Slayer and Ties That Bind on a small enemy. For example, in the final boss fight of the Guardian takedown, there's the boss and there's a ton of little enemies running around. Each time you take a fourth of a health bar, the boss goes into a little immunity phase. So technically you can just use Ties That Bind with Slayer and just keep taking off those big chunks of health simply by meleeing the enemy affected by Slayer. It's just a great change in my opinion, not mentioned in the patch notes for whatever reason, but I just thought I'd inform you of this just in case you were wondering what happened to the Slayer modifier if you were using it. But anyways, that's all I wanted to cover for today. Let me know what you guys think about this. Lootsplosion is finally fixed, and Slayer adjusted are two very good changes for the game in my opinion. So before I end this video, I wanted to quickly promote my Twitch channel. I will be live streaming at twitch.tv/zkarma throughout the whole day. I'll be farming Agonizer 9000 and running the Guardian takedown. Hope to see y'all there. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace out.